Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stacey Van Dyke. We begin today in Kentucky, where at least 64 people were killed this weekend in a string of devastating tornadoes that ripped across the heartland. President Biden will travel to Kentucky on Wednesday to view the damage. Laura Podesta reports from hard-hit Mayfield, Kentucky.
The cleanup is beginning here in Kentucky, and heartbreak has taken hold.
We just came out of the pandemic, and so you just wonder, like, what else? And then, then this.
Hunter Taylor survived the tornadoes by taking shelter in the basement of his Mayfield home.
It was the most terrifying thing I've ever experienced in my whole life.
The family across the street lost a child, and Taylor says he helped recover the body.
That was honestly the worst part of it all, is seeing someone lose their kid.
At least 4 tornadoes hit Kentucky Friday evening. One of them stayed on the ground for more than 200 miles. As the search for survivors continues, the death toll fluctuates, bringing Governor Andy Beshear to tears.
The age range is 5 months to 86 years, and 6 are younger than 18.
This entire neighborhood in Mayfield is a shell of what it once was. Residents have pulled out belongings that could be saved, but there are no homes for them to go back to. More than 100 people were working at this nearby candle factory when the storm hit.
I close my eyes and all I see is people hollering and screaming for help. So I'm not doing good at all.
The swarm of tornadoes ripped through 5 states. One twister tore into an Amazon warehouse in Illinois, killing 6.
6 individuals clocked in on Friday, and they never came home.
In the massive path of destruction, much of the infrastructure is gone, leaving thousands to survive winter weather without heat or running water. Laura Podesta, CBS News, Mayfield, Kentucky.
Gray Television is teaming with the Salvation Army to provide relief for those affected by the deadly tornado outbreak. You can donate directly to the Salvation Army's disaster relief efforts in Kentucky, Arkansas, Tennessee, Illinois, and Missouri by texting HL Tornado to 51555. You can also donate online by going to valleynewslive.com and clicking on this story. Your entire donation will go toward the disaster relief operation that you select. President Biden says he'll do whatever it takes to help the people impacted by this weekend's deadly tornadoes. He held a briefing with his emergency response coordinators and says he'll travel to Kentucky to see for himself the damage. The president has already approved an emergency declaration and a major disaster declaration, which, among other things, allows the federal government to send in search and rescue teams, provides federal dollars for local government responses, and helps with housing for the people who have been displaced by the storms. Hutch joins us now with a first look at your forecast. Hutch?
Stacey, thanks so much and good afternoon. On this Monday, we're very quiet and our mild weather from the weekend does continue. Radar shows a few clouds spilling into the valley and points west, and even a few snow showers along the international border. Down near and south of I-94 in the capital city near Bismarck, we have some light sprinkles showing up on the radar. So unsettled weather a little bit, but by and large, the main theme is mild. Look at this, 44 Watertown, near 40 degrees in Lakes Country, 32 in Fargo, and still near 30 up to the north. First alert weather day for Wednesday and Thursday. We're going to go over this in detail, but as things get started on Wednesday, we mentioned rain. Not only that, we could see some strong thunderstorm development that could bring a few strong thunderstorms into the southern reaches of Minnesota as we get things going on Wednesday night. More on that in a minute, but right now, your evening tonight, cloudy skies, increasing wind, and temperatures steady here in the FM area as we go through the evening in Grand Forks. It does look like we'll see 20s, but look at this, steady as well to slowly rising late up in our northern counties. We'll have hour-by-hour details on what you can expect as we go through the week, and we'll have an update on that midweek storm here in just a couple of moments.
All right, thanks so much, Hutch. A Wadena, Minnesota man is facing DUI and other charges after police say he crashed his car, then tried to run away. Grand Forks police say Kyle Taggart lost control of his vehicle on 17th Avenue South in Grand Forks last night, ran up a snowbank, then hit a guide wire and a fence. He and his passenger ran away from that crash, but were found nearby. He is charged with DUI, carrying a concealed weapon, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Federal prosecutors are recommending no jail time for a Wisconsin man who smuggled a bear carcass from Canada into North Dakota. He brought the bear from Canada after exceeding a limit in Manitoba by killing 2 bears in the same year. The man pleaded guilty to unlawful transportation of wildlife, which carries a maximum sentence of up to a year in prison and a $100,000 fine. However, prosecutors have asked a judge to sentence him to 1 year of unsupervised probation and to pay a $5,000 fine. A former Fargo bar is one step away from reopening under a new name. Fargo's Liquor Control Board today unanimously approved a change in ownership and management for what used to be the Africa International Restaurant and Nightclub. That license will likely be in the hands of 518 Properties, owned by Fargo businessman and developer Tyler Brandt. The change comes after a deadly shooting and several other calls for service, prompting that liquor board to suspend the license. Today's action by the Liquor Control Board will still need to be approved by the full City Commission. The business will now be known as the Summit Restaurant and Nightclub. The second week of testimony in the trial of former police officer Kim Potter, who shot and killed Dante Wright, started today in a Minnesota courtroom. The prosecution called more witnesses to the stand this morning, including a medical examiner, to speak on Wright's autopsy results. The defense argued that Potter shot Wright by accident by pulling her gun when she meant to grab her taser. Wright's family and civil rights lawyers say they don't believe it was accidental, pointing out that Potter worked for the Brooklyn Center Police Department for 26 years and even trained other officers. The 15-year-old accused of shooting 4 students to death at Oxford High School in Michigan attended a probable cause conference today. Ethan Crumbly could be seen on camera wearing a mask and listening to attorneys discuss his case with the judge. This was his first court appearance since he was arraigned on 4 murder charges and terrorism for the November 30th shooting. Next Monday, a judge will determine if there's enough evidence to send Crumbly to trial. Crumbly's parents are also being held in jail. Each have been charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. The U.S. has reached yet another grim milestone in the pandemic when the total number of deaths hit 800,000. As Naomi Ruckham reports, the development comes as New York enacts one of the toughest mask mandates in the country, and the U.K. confirms its first death from the Omicron variant.
With the UK reporting its first known death from the Omicron variant, health officials in the U.S. are taking note.
They have a higher vaccination rate and a higher booster rate in the United Kingdom than we do here. And they're seeing Omicron going from very few cases to close to 40% of the cases in the country, literally in a matter of days.
While the fast-spreading strain has been detected in more than 24 states, it's the Delta variant that's driving up infections nationwide. The average number of COVID cases across the U.S. is up almost 40% from last week, with hospitalizations rising in at least 42 states.
Fully vaccinated is going to be those 3 shots. And I think it's critical that we really push that across the country. And as much as possible the next week, people get their booster shot.
With cases on the rise, masks must now be worn in all indoor public spaces across New York State, unless a business or venue has a COVID vaccine requirement. The mandate will be in effect until at least January 15th, and business owners who don't enforce it could face fines of up to $1,000.
It's going to keep us safe, it's going to keep us healthy.
I feel like it should be left up to the individual.
Beginning Tuesday in New York City, all children 5 to 11 years old must have proof of vaccination in restaurants, fitness centers, and entertainment venues.
If they know if they want to enjoy all the great stuff happening around the holidays, they need to get that vaccine dose, and they can do it real quickly.
Despite warnings of a winter surge, a CBS News poll finds nearly 2/3 of Americans still plan to gather for Christmas. Only 1 in 5 Americans have canceled family get-togethers so far. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
Health officials say more people are headed out to get a booster shot. An average of more than 900,000 people a day got boosters last week. That's a record high for the U.S. Tomorrow marks 1 year since the first person received the COVID-19 vaccine in the United States. The nurse who received that first shot is now making it her mission to encourage others to get vaccinated to protect themselves and their communities.
Particularly for communities of color, there's a lot of mistrust between our community and the medical community. So I think it's very, very important for them to see that I trust science.
Dr. Lindsay recently received her Doctor of Health Sciences degree with a concentration in global health, organizational behavior, and leadership. Here's a traffic alert for drivers in the Northern Valley. Crews started work today on the pedestrian walkway on the Columbia Road Overpass in Grand Forks. Southbound traffic on the overpass will be down to 1 lane, but the walkway will remain open. The city is fixing a joint on the structure. That project is expected to last through early January. If you've been waiting to snag a holiday gift, now's the time to buy. We'll tell you about shipping delays later on Valley News Live at 4.
But next, radar fairly quiet. We have a couple of areas of light snow showers along the international border and along I-94. We'll tell you where these are heading, and we'll have an update on that storm expected for midweek. Big detail changes. I'll have those coming up in just a few moments.